Looks like it's a bit early. Gurave Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Taralaye. Is it going or not? Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tara Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Pravajantam Anapetyam Apeti Krityam Dvaipayano Viraha Kata Ajuhava Putreti Tam Mayatayo Tiravarudas Tam Sarvabhutam Hridam Anatoshmi. I first of all offer millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my most beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarsdara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And the same again, millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of our most beloved, Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Asto Tarsdara Shishimad Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And all the Vaishnava and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams. And of course, all Dandavat pranams to our most illustrious Rupanuga Guru Varga, and to this immaculate Jaiva-Dharma that we're studying. So we'll come to our Phal Shruti, and we're starting at the first verse of the Phal Shruti. Pritivite yatakata dharma namechale, bhagavatakaye shava paripurnachale. As indicated in Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1-2, all the philosophies on earth that are celebrated as dharma are utterly deceptive. So we've talked about this many times. The first practically 12 chapters, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is pointing out these deceptive dharmas. What is naimitic and what is nitya? Essential that we know the distinction between the two. What is material and what is spiritual. We have to know this difference in every facet of our lives. We have to know what is spiritual and what is material, so we don't get confused, so we don't speculate and go the wrong way. Chala dharma chadikara satya dharmimati chaturvargya tyaji dara nitya premagati. One should completely abandon such deceptive dharmas and absorb his mind in true dharma. In other words, one should give up the fourfold goals of material life, dharma, artha, karma, moksha, and aspire solely for the ultimate destination of nitya prem. It's interesting, I was just now reading the preface to the Ramcharitmanas, and there Tulsi Das, he says that those great noble saints who want to accomplish the essence of life, the four principles, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, should study this Ramcharitmanas. So this is the understanding prior to Mahaprabhu. Prior to Mahaprabhu, this was what all ashrams, all rishis, all saints, they would actually focus on moksha. A few amongst those great souls would be able to touch on the path of pure Vaishnavism, but it was rare. Most of them were actually focusing on aspects of this world, dharma, artha, karma, and moksha. Liberation, same in Swarga. They are looking towards liberation in the Brahman. That's the goal, because Brihaspati is described as Brahman realized. So having absorbed some of this Jaiva-Dharma, we can appreciate what is the path of bhakti and what is the goal of bhakti, this prem purusartha, this fifth goal. This is our objective. Moksha is actually, we've discussed many times, we've just discussed in the 12th chapter. Moksha is the fruit of Gyan Kand, and that's just no more suffering. But where is the activity of love and affection to the Supreme? Where is that relationship? It's only that relationship that's going to give that yayatma suprasidati, that satisfaction of the heart. It's only that. It's that relationship we want to hunger for, we want to aspire for. Jagannath Dev here, he can also manifest that conception in our consciousnesses of that connecting with him. And he can, like Lord Nrsingadev, when you go and see it, Nrsinghapali, he can also give this connection. That because we understand now what is Mahaprabhu's teachings. So from that, these mighty personalities like Jagannath Dev, they can inspire these truths into our hearts. Jagannath Dev is not going to inspire his bhaktas with a desire for moksha. He knows the hearts of his bhaktas. He knows the influence they've had by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he will inspire in their hearts Shuddha Bhakti, just as Nrsingadev will. Also, he will also inspire Shuddha Bhakti. If that is our intention, if we've learned that pure Bhakti, Shuddha Bhakti, is our objective, then we will be successful there. Amitva memam sabrame nija jada buddhi nirvishesha brahmagyana hechida sudhi. Those who are deluded identify themselves with matter. That is their error. However, one cannot be purified of such delusion by endeavors for nirvishesh brahmagyan. This is just what we've spoken about. You can't be purified of the material delusion by merging into the Brahman. You will just stay there because there's no activity, there's no subject and object in the Brahman. It's just the Brahman. And your satisfaction, that Shantaras, is all pervading. You won't feel any impetus to actually take shelter of anything. What's Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma? Now, Sochati Nakanchati, be completely satisfied. No more hankering, no more material desires. But that's not supreme Purusartha. The Mayavad thinks, Ivichitrata hina kale nirvishesh hoy, kala semutulya seha aprakrita noy. The Mayavad thinks Sri Krishna to be the subject to the limitations of time, such as birth and death, and considers that he is not transcendental. Because the Mayavad himself is not transcendental, he can't consider or conceive of the Lord being transcendental. And I've given the example before of the frog in the well, who's told about the ocean. He can't imagine the ocean. Is it one time bigger than my well, 20 times bigger than my well, 100 times bigger than my well? He can't conceive of anything beyond his own material limitations. So the Mayavad is like that. They refuse to submit to the potency of the Lord. They want to retain their own ahankar, their own false ego. Thus, he rejects Sri Bhagavan's vichitrata, astonishing characteristics, paraphernalia, qualities, and lila. This is the condition. It's like somebody was asking me today about they couldn't understand how Paramatma is, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur is actually saying that it's like formless. It's like the formless nirvakar worship, because Paramatma doesn't have astonishing pastimes. There are no astonishing pastimes in Paramatma. He just resides as the witness in all jivas. It's described. Well, I can just read it to you quickly if I have the place, if I can get it. I think it's important because Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying this directly. Let me just give you this quote. 246 in chapter 11. You can look at that, 246, and try to understand it. It was a good question. 246. So in the second to last paragraph starts, the first characteristic of Bhagavan is complete Aishwarya. But down the bottom of that paragraph, it's saying, this is in his conversation with the mullah, it's saying that if one thinks that Ishvara cannot have a form, he rejects his achintya shakti. This is just what he said in the Falshruti. The achintya shakti is the astonishing pastimes by which Bhagavan manifests his eternal form and pastimes before his bhaktas. So Paramatma doesn't manifest his eternal form and pastimes in front of the bhaktas. He might manifest his form, but this is the result of yoga. practice. The yogi will achieve Paramatma realization, just like the Jnani will achieve mukti, the yogi will achieve Paramatma realization. But that Paramatma realization is not complete. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, Allah, Brahm, or Paramatma are nirvikar, formless. It doesn't essentially mean they don't have a form. We know that Paramatma has a form. It's described in Srimad Bhagavatam as big as a thumb. But he doesn't have activities within that form. Therefore, he's nirvikar. You understand, Bilbo? Very, very clear, huh?
Yes.
So they do not have any special wonderful characteristics. This is the last part of the sentence, which is very important. So only one person asked me this question, but many people might have heard that and not questions. So we're going along. And many times questions aren't being asked sufficiently. So Paramatma, I explained before, is not an eternal experience. Because Paramatma, when all the worlds are annihilated into the body of Garbhodakshai Vishnu, then Karanadakshai Vishnu, where is Paramatma then? He's in a conceptual form. Because Paramatma is a part of Krishna.
Because he is the part of Krishna, he's not the full manifestation
Right,
of Bhagavan.
right. So he's a part. So still there will be a conceptual aspect of himself, but there's no form. And there'll be Paramatma in those yogis who have gone across the Viraja river to Siddhaloka. That's their destination. It's like the muktis, they go to the Brahmajyoti. The yogis, they go to Siddhaloka. But that form doesn't have activities. This is the main thing. This is the main thing to remember. And he's saying here so they do not have any special wonderful characteristics. So this we should appreciate fully. Thus, he rejects Sri Bhagavan's Vichitrata, astonishing characteristics. Yes, it's not just characteristics, it's astonishing characteristics. Paraphernalia, qualities, and lila. What leelas does Paramatma have? You see him walking around somewhere, having some sort of relationship somewhere? No. Through this vicious attempt, he is left with the philosophy of Nirvishesh Brahm. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur's heart is melting with compassion. He wants to slow those jivas down who are heading in that direction. And I've said many times how easy it is for us to go back to that direction because that's the place we've come from. We have some sanskar from that Brahmajyoti because we've already been there. So when we hear about the formless, impersonal place of consciousness, it can become attractive. It means I don't have to deal with people. I don't have to deal with all the problems of this world. I can just become like a blob, bleh, more or less. Nothing happening. So that can, like Tamagun practically. So that can have some type of attraction if you don't come across Krishna consciousness, if you're not that fortunate. Kama gyane hoya dharma ache sunishchaya prakritita hoyle kabu aprakrita noya. Such base and contemptible gyan, which arises out of an attempt to dismember the divine form of Bhagavan, is only fit to be rejected. So all of these first 5 verses have been very strongly, very firm, focusing that Nitya Dharma should be rejected and that Nitya Dharma is the only worthwhile path to follow. Anything else is useless. So we should take this message into our daily lives and try and appreciate what am I doing that is nimitic with my life generally. What in my life's activities are nimitic? Buying land, doing all that. If it's for Krishna's pleasure, if Guru wants that, then it has great value. Everything has to be run by the point of Guru focus. If Guru is indicating, yes, this is beneficial, whatever you're doing, if you're making a cake, if you're walking in the street, if you're taking a job, anything, if Guru is happy with that, and say you're doing some work, some job, then the money from that you're contributing to the temple or to the Vaishnava Seva, then that has nitya aspect in it. But we should examine very carefully everything for the distinction between nitya and naimitic. It is prakrita, materialistic, and should never be given credence as aprakrit dham. So don't ever confuse what is naimitic, temporary, material, nature, and what is permanent. So this we have to be very, very careful of. So now we've reached this second section, and just an appreciation of the first section. I won't run through all the chapters today, but just an appreciation. We see that the main teaching in every single chapter is sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha, sadhu sangha, all the way through. Bhaktis to Bhagavat Bhaktya Sanjayate Pariyata. Let me just see that verse. I just got to get that verse properly. Bhaktis tu Bhagavat Bhakta Sangena Parijayata. This is saying that bhakti is only awoken by association. And what have we seen in the last 12 chapters? Throughout, it's all being highlighted, guru-shishya relationship and association, all the way through, every single chapter. Because I've heard people comment, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur doesn't say directly, oh, you must have association all the time. He's not saying that, but what is he writing about the whole time? Brajanath has just met Raghunath Das Babaji. He's just met the Vaishnavas. He's associating with them. Previously, Sannyasi Thakur saw that Vaishnava. That was association. And then he took direct association from Prem Das Babaji. And then he even went to have association of Pradumna Brahmachari. Prem Das is guru. And then Vaishnava Das is giving association to Lahari Mahashai. Lahari Mahashai is giving association to his son. Lahari Mahashai is giving association to that Digambar. And then all the Vaishnavas, Gaurachandra in particular, are giving association to the Muslims, the Mullah. So it's all this association. This is the clear message that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is putting very prominently in all of these chapters. So now we've come to this 13th chapter, and this is the beginning of this Dasamula section. And I explained yesterday, it's quite simple to get the 9 prameyas in order. 3 about Krishna, 3 about the Jiva, then there's Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, then there's Sadhan, and then there's Priti, love. All of that makes 9, and the Annaya, the Praman, is the first one. That makes 10. So we should try to assimilate this. So I'm going to read this verse very slowly, along with the translation, more or less, or an understanding of what each word is indicating. So Amnaya Praha Tattvam Harim. Amnaya Praha Tattvam. This is meaning the truth, the evidence, the Amnaya, the Vedas. Just a second, I want to read this properly with you.
Page 16.
What is it, 15?
Page 16, 1-6.
Thank you. Yes. Amnaya is referencing the Vedas, which are transmitted through oral reception from guru to disciple. So this is the Amnaya. This is what is first mentioned. Amnaya Praha. This Praha is proclaiming. Amnaya Praha. These are the truths. Vedas are loudly proclaiming. This is what the Vedas are made of. Then this Tattvam, the absolute truth, is Sri Hari. This is the first prameya, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's the first prameya. Sri Hari alone is the Supreme Absolute Truth. That's the first prameya. And then Iha Paramam, that's the Supreme Truth. And then Sarva Shaktim, that same Lord, Sri Krishna, is the possessor of all potency. Sarva Shaktim, the possessor of all potency. And Rasa Abdim, the ocean of rasa. So in that first line, there are 3 prameyas and the praman. Amnaya prahat tatvam harim. Tatvam harim is the first prameya. Iha paramam. Tatvam harim iha paramam. That's the first prameya. Then sarva shaktim is the second prameya. And rasabdim is the third prameya. And then the praman is amnaya praha. So that's the beginning. Then tad vibhinamsams cha jivan. That tad vibhinamsams are his separated parts. We explained this a couple of days ago, the vibhinamsa tattva. So tad vibhinamsa is proclaimed here. Tad vibhinamsams cha jivan. Tad vibhinamsa. And the translation is separated parts. Cha jivan, the living beings, prakriti, are deluded by his maya. And the word is kabalitam. So this is very beautiful. Tad vibhinamsams cha jivan prakriti kabalitam. So this kabalitam is being swallowed by the illusory energy. These jivas who are covered by maya. This word kabalitam means swallowed. We're being swallowed by the illusion. So that's the fourth prameya. Tad vibhinamsams cha prakriti kabalitam. Then tad vimuktams, those who are liberated, vimuktams. They're liberated, vimuktas, from this deluding potency. And then cha bhavat, those who have attained the stage of bhav bhakti. So that's the liberated souls. You understand where we're up to? We're up to number 7, the mukta jivas. So in the first line, there's 3 prameyas and the amnaya. In the second line, there's also 3 prameyas, all about the jiva, the vibhinamsas, and then those who are Baddha jivas, yes, and then the liberated jivas. And now Beda Abeda Prakasham. This Beda Abeda, this is indicating the difference and non-difference. A manifestation. Sakalam means manifestation. Oh, Prakasham, a manifestation, Sakalam, of everything. So within everything is this Achintya Beda Abeda. This is actually reconciling the Jiva and Krishna. There is distinction between the Jiva and Krishna, and there is similarity between the Jiva and Krishna. We've gone over this in a previous chapter. We mentioned that. So this is the 8th, Achintya Beda Abeda Tattva, the entire universe consisting of the conscious Chit and unconscious Achit of Sri Hari's Achintya Abeda Prakrit. That is to say, it is his manifestation which is inconceivably both different and non-different from him. So we've described this many times. Just as the water in the spoon is the same as the water in the ocean, the same, it constitutes the same ingredients, but the quantity is completely different. So to understand this Achintya Beda Beda Tattva, so this is described in the 3rd line. Abeda Abeda Prakasham Sakalam Apihare Sadhunam. So now this Sadhunam is describing the means of attainment, the sadhan. What is the sadhan? Sadhanam. Apihare Sadhanam Shuddha Bhaktim. This pure bhakti is the sadhan, Shuddha bhakti. So Shuddha bhakti is the 9th or the 8th prameya, Shuddha bhakti. And then Sadyam Tat Piritim. This Krishna Priti is the 9th prameya. This Sadyam Tat Piritim Evati Upadishyati. This is the instruction to the people that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, this Janan means people, Gora Chand, Mahaprabhu himself, whose effulgence resembles a moon. He gave these instructions personally, Swayam Saha. So that's this verse. Amnaya Praha Tatvam Harim Iha Paramam Sarva Shaktim Rasabdim. So like that, you can follow it through and you can see the 9 prameyas and the Amnaya are there very clearly in that verse. So it makes it more accessible, I think, when we open it up like that, and we can see clearly each reference. It's not just a jumble of Sanskrit words stuck together. It's a full explanation of the entire Dasmula. So now I'm going to read through the Dasmula as well, just to go over it again. We need to go, when I did this previously in Vrindavan, there's a Dasmula series that I did. We went through every single day, this Dasmula and the verse. There's maybe 30 or 40 people. And by the end of, I think, about 10, 12 days, all of them knew the verse and understood the 9 prameyas. And many got confused between praman and prameya, like I said yesterday, but they are so distinct. Praman means your evidence. Prameya means what the praman is establishing from the evidence, which is the ontological truth. So the first is praman. Teachings of the Vedas received through Guru Parampara are known as Amnaya, the infallible evidence of the Vedas, of the Shmriti Shastras headed by Srimad Bhagavatam. Shmriti comes from to hear, smaranam. We should associate this Shmriti with, like Shruti comes from hearing, sorry. Smaranam comes from remembrance, smaranam. So in the Bhagavatam, we are remembering. Oh, that's another point that I meant to mention. I was describing these 12 chapters all being based on sadhu sangha and association. When we look closely at the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's exactly the same. You have the sages of Naimisharanya inquiring from Sutta Goswami. Then Sutta Goswami is remembering the association he had at Sukratal when he was in the association with Shukadev Goswami and hearing all what he said. So all the way through, in every Shastra we have, it's all sadhu sangha is the premise of it. So we should take this route very, very carefully. There's a beautiful verse. I didn't learn this verse, but I'm just in the process of learning it. If I can get to it quickly enough. Where is it? Krishna Janme Sadhu Sangha. Let's see if I can get it for you. Just a second.
Krishna Bhakti Janma.
Just a minute. Krishna. No, it's in Sadhu Sangha.
Page 12.
In the Sadhu Sangha section, it's on. Where is it now? Can't get it quickly enough. No, I'll get it later. But it's talking about.
Is it this one? Krishna Bhakti Janma.
Yes, Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Hoya Sadhu Sangha. Krishna Prema Janma Teno Puna Mukhya Anga. The root cause of Krishna Bhakti is Sadhu Sangha. Even when one's dormant Krishna Prem awakens, such association will still remain the most essential principle for one's spiritual life. Thank you so much for that. Well done. Yes. What page is that on?
12.
12. On page 12 of the little Shlokamrita, if you're watching here, this very beautiful verse. These verses are like arrows to pierce the heart. Krishna Bhakti Janma Mule. Mula means root. So I've just described how Jaiva-Dharma, the root of all this, is sadhu sangha. And also the root in Srimad Bhagavatam, and the root in Chaitanya Charitamrita is also showing Mahaprabhu and his associates and demonstrating how they acted together, how they lived together, etc. So this association is utterly vital. In contradiction to just living alone like a yogi and thinking that you can actually crack the gates of salvation without association. Not possible. We have to have association somehow or other. The infallible evidence of the Vedas and the Smriti Shastra, Smriti Smaranam, headed by the Srimad Bhagavatam, as well as evidence such as direct sense perception, pratyaksha, that concur with the guidance of the Vedas are all accepted as praman, evidence. This praman establishes the following pramayas, fundamental truths. It's so logically laid out by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. As I've said many times, this is not just a book by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It's a scripture that he conceived in his Bhasya. This is apurushaya. This is not written by mankind. This is written beyond man. There's no mistakes. There's no defects, just like the Srimad Bhagavatam in this Jaiva-Dharma. It's utterly pure. So the first is Paramatattva. Paramatattva is signified by Tattvam Harim Iham Paramam. These three words. This is the Paramatattva. Sri Hari alone is the supreme absolute truth. And number three, Sarva Shaktimam. Sri Krishna is the possessor of all potency. So the next chapters are going to go through each of these pramayas, one by one by one by one. And at the end of this sequence, we should be very familiar with all these different pramayas. We should have them in our pockets so that I described yesterday, in any assembly of Vaishnavas, we can assess where is the fundamental truth and what is the focus and direct, whatever the topic is being spoken about, we can run them through these ontological truths so that we can always be completely on track with the Smriti and the Shruti, all these scriptures, the Vedas. Number four is Akila Rasamrita Sindhu. He is the ocean of nectarian mellows. So this is like Rasa Tattva. We come to this main unpacking of the Rasa Tattva are in the last 14 chapters. But we'll do Bhav Bhakti in chapter 22 here. This will be describing Bhav Bhakti. Without the rasa, without the taste, why should you continue on this path? If you're not getting some juice, some rasa from putting the consciousness into Vrindavan Dham. Yesterday we talked about Goduli. This whole chapter opens with the mood of Goduli, with Krishna directly coming back with all the cows. It's Shyam time in the Astakaliya Leela at about 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the evening time. This is just prior to the time of Pradosh. Pradosh is when Krishna is taken to the assembly where many actors and singers are performing on a stage. This is their evening entertainment for all the Brijbasis. They all come together and they sing beautiful bhajans, etc. together. And it's all focused on glorifying Krishna. But Krishna is there with Mother Yashoda. Mother Yashoda takes him to that assembly every single evening. That's in Pradosh Leela. Then after the Pradosh Leela comes the Ratri Leela, 5 hours of the nighttime pastimes. And then it's Nishanta Leela, then again and again, the cycle of the 8 Leelas. And this is described in chapter 38. And this is Lord Shiva is speaking to Narad. And Vrindadevi is also quoting in between many of these pastimes, but Lord Shiva basically is instructing Narad in this Astakaliya, And all of the eightfold pastimes are delineated there, very much detailed in the 38th chapter, in preparation for the final conclusion of the 40th chapter. So get the whole sequence of where we're going. We're not going to Gyan. We're not just trying to learn this to stack up a whole lot of verses and so on, that now I can become very erudite in any group. We're going for our hearts to reach that place of Amala Prem Seva. This is what we just heard in the Falshruti. This Amala Prem Seva, this Shuddha Bhakti is our goal. Shuddha Bhakti means pure worship of Krishna. It doesn't mean pure extended worship of ourselves in the form of Gyan. So by having knowledge of these topics, we don't become proud of that. We utilize this knowledge to make quick progress to the lotus feet of the Lord and the lotus feet of Sri Radhika as a maidservant. So we have to have the goal very clearly in our focus where we're going, not Gyan. Now we come to 3 about the Jiva, Vibhinamsa Tattva, Bada Jiva, and Mukta Jiva. So Vibhinamsa Tattva, both the Mukta liberated and Bada conditioned Jivas are his eternally separated parts and parcels. And guess what? They don't fall from Vaikuntha. I just have to say that, because there are some schools that believe that we fell from Vaikuntha, which means that they don't have very much faith in Vaikuntha. If you think a soul can fall from Vaikuntha, what sort of faith do you have in Vaikuntha? If you think that imperfection can come into a perfect world, then it's not perfect, is it? It can't be perfect. And Prabhupada says in 7th canto, chapter 1, verse 35, in the purport, in the last paragraph, he's saying, it is a fact, therefore it is a fact that no one falls from Vaikuntha. So that's just a complete fabrication and an upasiddhanta that seems to have grown up in the last 30 or 40 years. It's because it would indicate that Vaikuntha, or the spiritual realm, is not a perfect realm, that there is imperfection within the realm. And getting that wrong means the whole of the rest of your equation is wrong. It's like saying 1 + 1 = 3, and then trying to go into calculus or Pythagoras. What?
I had a question, Maharaj. Why did Srila Prabhupada name that journal as Back to Godhead instead of Going to Godhead?
Actually, that journal was, the name was given by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And most of the beautiful terminologies that the Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj and our Prabhupada gave were coming from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, because we are going back to Godhead. We haven't been to Godhead, we're going back to Godhead. It's like if you haven't been... English language is very limited, but essentially it gives a window for those who want to believe that we fell from there, if they want to turn it around. But in every scripture, you have to have references to many other scriptures to verify its authenticity. So if you're thinking we fell from Vaikuntha, then you have to give me proof from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, from all the Goswamis, from Bhakti Vinod Thakur. All of these personalities have to say the same. And there's none of them that say this. Not a single one says this. But the phrase, going back to Godhead, would give hope. It's to give hope, I think, is the answer to your question. Generally...
It's also Achintya Veda. We are from God and we're going back to Him, and we are not...
That's true. That's true. We are from that realm because we are made of Shuddha Sattva. Our own form essentially is the same. This Achintya Veda Abheda Tattva. We are the same. Quality as Krishna.
In one sense, yes, it's a natural environment.
Yes.
So going back.
Yes, so going back there. Going back to home. It is my home. Now this is not my home. Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj said so many times, I'm a foreigner in a foreign land. I am not from this place. This is not my home. But I'm determined to make it my home by laying down roots and attachments and so on. but it's not my home. And I'll be frustrated at the end because I'll have to leave it. So that's the opposite of it. It's not my home. We can't come back to this world, back to home. It's not here. I think we have to chant significantly on this point to appreciate its truth. I believe if you're a sincere soul, you will have no problem with understanding this. Sincerity is at the heart. If you want to cheat, the door's wide open. You can cheat till 1,000 births ahead. Keep on cheating, but it won't make your heart soften and be satisfied. But good question, Bilba. Thank you for that. So both mukta, liberated, and Baddha, conditioned jivas, are his eternally, this is what Shama was just saying, eternally, it's our eternal home, eternally separated parts and parcels. Baddha, we're eternally separated until we're no longer Baddha jivas and we're liberated jivas. So that Baddha jiva only holds as long as you're in the conditioned consciousness. When you become purified of the conditioned consciousness, you're no longer an eternally conditioned soul. That terminates. The conditioning terminates and you become a mukta. So number 6 here, which is the 5th prameya, Baddha jivas, conditioned souls, are subject to the control and covering of Maya. So this is beautiful chapter 16 in this Jaiva-Dharma, very wonderful chapter. Chapter 15 is the just Jiva Tattva, and the Shakti Tattva is chapter 14. We're on chapter 13 now, so you can be figuring out the chapters as we go along. I think the chapters give us some sort of support. It's like any text or any topic. If we know the posts, so to speak, along the way, where we can tie our boat to and absorb the truths. Then number 7 is mukta jivas. Liberated souls are free from Maya. So once you're a mukta jiva, you're no longer a Baddha jiva. That's basically what I was saying.
I think there could be a condition, one more. Liberated souls are free from Mahamaya, but can come under the influence of Yogamaya.
Yes. All in the spiritual realm are under, Krishna is under the control of Yogamaya. Srimati Radhika is under the control of Yogamaya. Yogamaya is that personality who is arranging everything in Braj. All the pastimes are arranged. Krishna's marriage is arranged by, Krishna's marriage is not arranged. It was arranged that Krishna would marry Radha, and Purnamasi Devi, who is Yogamaya in Braj, came and completely thwarted that arrangement because she is the controller of all the Braj pastimes. And actually Yogamaya is an extension of Radhika. So Radhika, in her desire to please Krishna in every aspect, every atom of her being, takes the role of Yogamaya and making all these arrangements. But Krishna, he's also bewildered by Yogamaya. The pure devotees who come to this world, they are also bewildered by Yogamaya, thinking when they first take birth, I am a son in this family. They don't take birth as liberated souls. They go through the pastime of becoming liberated so that all the jivas can appreciate their liberated condition. That is also the workings of Yogamaya. So Yogamaya is where we're going to come under actually it's just simply coming under the control of love. We can say like that. And love has to have 2. So that loving relationship. Krishna is controlled by love. So Krishna is also controlled by Yogamaya in that sense.
Saying is, it could be more specific there. Liberated souls are free from Mahamaya.
Very true, Bilva. I agree with you.
Yes.
I'll call up the editors and tell them. Yes. Number 8, Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva. The entire universe consisting of the conscious Chit and unconscious Achit is Sri Hari's Achintya Beda Abeda Prakash. That is to say, it is his manifestation. Prakash means manifestation, which is inconceivably both different and non-different from him. So this itself is astonishing. Achintya, being different and non-different simultaneously. It's like walking and being stationary at the same time. Materially, that's impossible. But spiritually, it is possible. So this achintya aspect, we've discussed many, many times. This chamatkar, astonishing. Krishna has astonishing pastimes. All of our revelations are astonishing. Each day we pray to have astonishing realization of these various truths. Just to have darshan of Lord Jagannath for a moment is utterly astonishing. To have darshan of Tota Gopinath is utterly astonishing. To see any of these very potent Thakurjis is utterly astonishing. Every single and to have darshan of the devotees is also astonishing. When we see each other in the morning, that is also astonishing. If we have affection and respect for everybody, that is also astonishing. So the heart is looking for that achintya bhav, that astonishing moment regularly throughout the day to ignite our spiritual enthusiasm. Number 9, Shuddha Bhakti. Pure devotional service is the only practice, sadhana, to attain perfection. We are only focused on that affection, which for us is Bhav Bhakti. Sadhana Bhakti, Bhav Bhakti, and Prema Bhakti. So it's this Bhav Bhakti is our focus. This will be in chapter 22. This is at the end. This is demonstrating our focus. It's got Vaidhi Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti. 2 chapters are there, 20 and 21, and are showing this precept very, very clearly. This is just absolutely incredible book. It has everything that the sadhak needs, and very simply. I don't think anything is so difficult to understand, particularly. We just have to apply ourselves. We have to and it's very hard focusing in Kali Yuga, because we allow so much free rein for the mind's sensuality and his material pleasures, in all sorts of areas. It's like this phone is quite amazing. It has so many saints and acharyas speaking to us on it. At the same time, it has so much mayic opportunities simultaneously. So it's in our hand. The control is in our hand. Which button do you want to press? Do you want to press the mic button or the Yogamaya button? Yes, it's come into one handful. I mean, it's amazing in this age how we have it all in our hands for anything. And Krishna Priti. Krishna Priti is transcendental love and affection for Krishna in the one and only final object of attainment, Sadhya Vastu. We've talked about sadhana and sadhya. So the final sadhya is Krishna Priti. So just to take a breath there, I hope you've all appreciated this incredible verse describing the Dashamula. And in my own life, I had this printed out in large letters and I stuck it on the refrigerator, or I would have it wherever I was in any house. And for many years, I would look at it again and again and again and again, just keep on refreshing. And it's essential to know the meaning of each word. If you break it down and you know what is like Tattvam Harim Iha Paramam means the Krishna Tattva, incomplete. And Amnaya Praha means the Vedas, etc., complete. And then Sarva Shaktim, Shakti Tattva, Rasabdin, Rasa Tattva. So you have it like that very clearly. My Gurudev would be very happy if someone quoted this verse, if someone went through these truths, because once you actually become familiar with them, you can probably go through them in 3 or 4 minutes. In the middle of a lecture, you can just ring out these 9 ontological truths, and then everything is in sync completely. So we'll just read a little more down to the Dasmula shloka. Swayam Bhagavan, Sri Gauranga Dev, has herein instructed 10 distinct tattvas, fundamental truths, to the faithful jivas. This is not supposed to be an armchair book. It's not supposed to be an entertaining book. It's supposed to be a book of knowledge. A book of knowledge means we have to make some effort to assimilate the knowledge. It's not just going to happen. We can't be lazy about this. We can't just listen to it and think, oh yes, it'll just happen. I'm thinking of some various people that I know are watching. It has to be actually applied. You know, we have to make some effort. And then very easily, mercy will come. There's chesta and kripa. Chesta means effort. If I make an effort, mercy will come to, I have to desire to understand these things. If I sincerely desire to understand these things, Krishna will give me the mercy to understand them. If I'm half-baked about it, it doesn't really matter. It's too much beyond my adhikar. Why should I try and understand this? Not necessary for me. Then that mercy won't come. Of course it won't come. Why should it come? There has to be utsaha. There has to be eagerness. Doesn't that make sense? If you want something, you have to demonstrate some eagerness for it. If there's greed, if there's eagerness, then of course, Krishna is eager to give the mercy. Krishna is so eager to give the mercy. We just simply have to be resolute and make the effort, make some effort to get that mercy. Swayam Bhagavan Sri Gauranga Dev has herein instructed 10 distinct tattvas, fundamental truths, to the faithful jivas. This word faithful comes up a lot. Shraddha. If we have to have faith. If faith is not there, then you're in the wrong place. Then somewhere else has to go. Faith, because faith will be progressively increased with each page of this Jaiva-Dharma. The first of these is Praman Tattva, and the remaining 9 are Prameya Tattva. First, you should understand the meaning of Praman. That subject which is established by Praman, evidence or proof, is known as Prameya, that which is proved. And that which is Prameya is proved is known as Praman. I think we know the distinction. The Praman is the evidence that's proving the Prameya, and the Prameya is proven by the Praman. You have to have the two together. Otherwise, it's speculative. Otherwise, you're just getting into another hazy state of consciousness. This is what this is supposed to break. This Dasamula is to break any speculation or any erring away from the principal focuses. These 10 fundamental tattvas, Dashamula tattva, are set out in the shloka that I have just recited. The next shloka will be the first actual shloka of the Dasamula, and it elaborates on the first of the Dashmula tattvas, namely the authoritative Vedic literature, Amnaya or Praman tattva. From the second to the 8th shloka, Sambandha tattva is described. The 9th shloka describes Abhideya tattva. So the 9th shloka is Shuddha Bhakti. So that practice of pure bhakti, that is Abhideya, that practice. We know that Abhideya means the practice. And prior to the practice, there must be solid platform of Sambandha. So that's what we've just been through in this first section. The first 12 chapters have been, actually they've given us all 3, but in principle, it's the Sambandha that was made most prominent. So the 2nd to the 8th shloka, Sambandha tattva, is described. The 9th shloka describes Abhideya tattva, which is the sadhan for attaining the ultimate goal. And the 10th shloka describes Prayojan tattva, which is the sadhya, the goal itself. So we just went through in chapter 12 about bhukti, mukti, and bhakti. We talked about the chain or the yoga ladder. And now here, this is the same. We get it repeated in different ways. So we get the picture, we get the full impression of where we're going and what has to be accomplished on the path to reach the destination, to get to the final goal. But first, we have to want the final goal. We have to want that Krishna Priti. So we have to hear.
Would it be all right, correct to say that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has summarized the entire teachings given by Gauranga Mahaprabhu into Dashamula?
Absolutely, absolutely. All of the teachings given by Mahaprabhu are contained within this. Just like the Goswamis, they have given us the entirety of Mahaprabhu's teachings. Rupa Goswami has given us all the Abhideya Tattva. Sanatana Goswami, he gave us the Hari Bhakti Vilas, etc. These are all direct indications from Mahaprabhu that this is what he wanted them to do. And now Bhaktivinoda Thakur is capsulating everything. He's pulling it all together. This is why this book is so incredible, because the last 14 chapters are exactly chapter by chapter of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. They're exactly going through the same things. And these first chapters, you could run them by the Srimad Bhagavatam teachings in many areas. So really, it's the entirety of all our philosophy is contained. Jaiva-Dharma, the eternal function of the jiva in this material world. That's what the word Jaiva means. It means the eternal function of the jiva in this world. And that's what Mahaprabhu has come to enlighten and liberate. Not only liberate, but actually gift this Radha Dasyam focus. This is what he's come for specifically. Is Rag Mag Bhakti Loke Karite Prachan. This is why he's come. He's come to taste his own prem. Prem Ras Nirise Karite Ashwara. That's what he's come to taste. But he's come to give Raganuga Bhakti. Nothing else. He hasn't come to give Vaidhi Bhakti. So all of this is going to give the same result. Therefore, definitely this is Mahaprabhu's, how did you say it?
Condensed teaching.
Condensed teachings, yes. When Brajanath had heard the meaning of the shloka, he said, Babaji Maharaj, I do not have anything to ask now. If any question occurs to me after hearing the next shloka, I will submit it at your lotus feet. Now kindly explain the first shloka of the Das Mula. So we'll do this tomorrow. We'll do the first shloka of the Das Mula tomorrow. So I've just tried to really unpack this seed verse containing all the Das Mula today. That's really what I wanted to do. And I wanted to reference how Sadhu Sangha is applicable in all the chapters that we've just read and is applicable in the chapter we're reading and all the next subsequent chapters as Sadhu Sangha is applicable in Srimad Bhagavatam, as it's there in Chaitanya Charitamrita throughout. So this principle of Sadhu Sangha is going to make all this successful if we can attain that Sadhu Sangha.
Like Sambandha, Avidya and Prayojan. Sadhu Sangha is like Sambandha, Avidya and Prayojan.
All will be manifest by the association of those sadhus who are, first of all, interested in these topics and then realized in these topics. That is the real association. There will be varieties of association, of course. Some association you will get more, but the principle is to pray for association. If we pray for it, if we know that that's what we need is association, then we're hungry always looking for that association. Wherever we go, whatever we're doing, we're looking for that, praying for that association. And there's no excuse because today we have the internet and there are so many areas on the internet where we can just log into and have. It's not the same as having live association. Of course it's not. But nevertheless, it's a good second choice if we don't have the live association. But Krishna will arrange everything. Lord Jagannath will arrange everything. Gopinath will arrange everything. Sadhu Sangha ki jai. Jaiva-Dharma ki jai. Go Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha. Kripa Sindhubevacha. Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha. Go Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.
जय जय स्तोत्र शतसी श्रीमद् भक्तिवेदांत श्री महाराज की
जय।